The ugly one Syraa sat alone in the corner of the hall of choosing. All the other girls stood in a line, tails high, skin shining, heads lifted. They laughed, showing off their scales and bright-colored eyes. Syraa did not laugh. She didn't look like them. Her tail was short and dull, her scales were pale, her body was small and soft, not strong and sharp like the others. No male looked her way. Not breeding material, one of the elders whispered to another. Syraa heard it. She always did. It wasn't the first time. Every season, the young females of her kind stood for the choosing, a tradition where males selected who they would bond with. It was a proud day for most, but not for Syraa. For her, it was just another reminder that she was different and not wanted. She looked down at her feet, pretending not to care, but deep inside her heart hurt. No one had ever called her beautiful. No one ever would. Then the doors opened with a loud crash. A cold wind rushed in. The crowd turned and gasped. A strange creature stood there, tall, two-legged, with soft pink skin and strange clothes. It was a human. "Is this the central hall?" the human asked, rubbing his arms. Guards stepped forward, ready to attack. "Wait," said Elder Mari. "He's a human. From the Earth Alliance, he must be lost." The human stepped inside slowly, hands up. Syraa's eyes widened. She had heard of humans, but never seen one up close. His hair was brown and messy. His clothes were torn from travel. But there was something warm in his eyes. He looked around. Then his eyes stopped on her. For a long moment, the room was silent. Then he smiled. Syraa blinked. No one had ever smiled at her like that. "Hey," the human said, walking up to her. "Are you okay? You look kind of sad." Syraa didn't answer. She was too shocked. He sat beside her on the stone bench. Everyone stared. "You're beautiful," he said softly. The hall went quiet. Gasps filled the air. Elders froze. Syraa's heart skipped. What did you say?" she asked. "I said you're beautiful," the human repeated with a small shrug. "Why? Did I say something wrong?" She couldn't speak. No one, not in her whole life, had ever said that word to her. The others began laughing. "He does not know our ways," one female hissed. "Foolish alien," another male snorted. "He thinks softness is beauty." But the human ignored them. "My name's Josh," he said kindly. "I'm a technician. My ship crashed near here. I was looking for help." Syraa finally found her voice. "You think I'm beautiful?" "Yeah," he said with a smile. "Your eyes are gentle, your face is calm. You don't try to show off like the others. That's real beauty where I come from." She looked down, trying to hide the tear slipping from her eye. Josh frowned. "I didn't mean to upset you." "No," she whispered. "You didn't. It's just, no one's ever said that to me." He looked confused. "Why not?" "Because I'm not like the others," she said slowly. "I don't shine. I don't fight. My body is weak. I have no mating offers. They say I'm useless." Josh shook his head. "They're blind." The elders stepped forward now. "Human, you should leave. This is not your place." Josh stood. "She didn't ask me to leave." One elder scowled. "She is not for you." Syraa stood too, her hands shaking. "He's the only one who saw me." The room fell into silence again. Josh turned to her. "Do you want to come with me? Just to talk? Maybe show me the way back?" She nodded slowly, and with that, Syraa walked out of the hall of choosing, not as a rejected one, but as someone who, for the first time, was seen. "The compliment that," echoed Syraa, walked beside the human, still not believing what just happened. She had left the hall of choosing, on her own, with a male. A human male. No female of her kind had ever done that. The village watched in silence as she passed. Some laughed, some stared, but no one stopped her. They didn't know what to do with someone who had already been thrown away. Josh, the human, looked up at the sky and whistled. Your moons are beautiful, double moons, never seen that before. Syraa looked up too. She had seen those moons all her life, but now for the first time they looked soft, peaceful. She glanced at Josh. Why did you call me that? Beautiful. He chuckled. Because you are. Where I'm from, beauty isn't about glowing skin or sharp tails. It's about something else. Like what? She asked, genuinely confused. Josh paused. Back home, beauty is in kindness, in how someone makes you feel. You looked so sad, but still gentle. That made you beautiful to me. Syraa didn't know what to say. No one had ever explained beauty like that. On her world, beauty was measured, judged. If you didn't pass, you were forgotten. I don't know if I believe that, she said softly. That's okay, Josh replied. But I believe it. They walked through the quiet paths of the forest. Syraa guided him, though she wasn't sure where they were going. She just didn't want the moment to end. Josh looked around. I guess I'm pretty lost. My ship came down about 10 clicks east of here, system malfunction. You're a technician? She asked. Yeah, fix ships, fix machines, sometimes fix broken legs. He smiled. Syraa blinked. Can you fix people? Josh stopped, looked at her carefully. Some people don't need fixing, he said. They just need to be seen. Syraa looked away quickly. Her chest felt strange. Not pain, but not peace either. A new kind of feeling. Warm, strange, bright. As they walked further, they reached a stream. Syraa knelt and splashed water on her face. The surface showed her reflection. For the first time she looked at herself, not through her people's eyes, but through his. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't broken. Josh sat on a rock nearby. Why do your people treat you like that? She hesitated. On my planet, females are ranked. The highest are chosen for breeding, leadership, power. The rest are ignored. I failed all the tests. Physical, visual, mental, so they marked me useless. Marked? He asked. She turned her back slightly, showing a faint scar at the base of her neck, a thin line shaped like an X. Josh's hands clenched into fists. That's messed up. It is our way. He shook his head. Then your way needs changing. For a moment, Syraa wanted to believe that maybe her life wasn't decided by others. That maybe one kind word could change her whole path. But reality returned fast. She heard rustling. Then voices. Loud, sharp alien tongues. Guards. Searching for them. They followed us, Syraa said quickly. They won't let me speak with you again. Josh stood tall. Then we'll run. Syraa grabbed his hand. Follow me. She didn't know why she trusted him so fast. She just did. As they ran through the trees, the sound of pursuit behind them grew louder. But Syraa wasn't scared. She was smiling. For the first time in her life, she was running towards something, not away from it. Behind the eyes, the night forest wrapped around them like a dark blanket. Syraa and Josh had escaped the guards, for now. They sat beside a broken tree trunk deep in the woods. A small, silent fire crackled between them. Josh had used a spark stick from his belt. Syraa had never seen fire up close like this before. On her planet, fire was feared, but tonight, it felt safe. Your people will be angry, Josh said, staring into the flames. They already are, Syraa replied. But what's new? I've never mattered to them. Josh tilted his head. You matter to me. Those words hit harder than the wind. She looked into his eyes, searching. Not for a trick, but for truth. Her kind were trained to look at skin, tails and posture, but humans, Josh. He looked behind the eyes, like he was seeing something deeper. She had never been seen like that before. Do humans really believe in love? She asked quietly. Josh nodded. Yeah, we fall in love not because of looks, but because of something we feel in our chest, like gravity, but between souls. Syraa didn't answer. She was scared of that idea, souls pulling close. Her people never taught her that, only rankings, scores, rejections. She looked at him again. You don't even know me. Josh smiled. I know enough. He handed her a protein bar. She held it carefully, unsure what it was. He showed her how to eat it. Simple kindness, simple sharing. For her, it felt like something huge. But then the peace cracked. A loud voice rang. Out from the trees, deep, angry, and close, Syraa of House Tren. Step away from the human. It was Elder Maros. Not just any elder, he was the enforcer. Strong, feared, and fully armored. Josh stood and placed himself between Syraa and the voice. Maros walked forward slowly, 4 guards behind him. This human is not bonded. His touch is forbidden. His presence is dangerous. Syraa stood too, her fists clenched. He has shown me more care than any of you ever have. Maros's eyes glowed with rage. You are nothing. A castaway. We did not expect more from you. Josh stepped forward. You don't get to talk to her like that. The elder growled. You will return her now. Josh shook his head. She's not property. One of the guards raised a shock baton. Syraa stepped in front of Josh. Touch him, and I will scream loud enough for the scouts to hear. Is that what you want? Maros hesitated. He could see something had changed in her eyes. This wasn't the weak, forgotten girl anymore. She had fire now. She had choice. You'll regret this, girl, Maros spat. You think he sees beauty in you? Wait until the novelty fades. He turned and vanished into the dark. The guards followed. Josh exhaled slowly. That was intense. Syraa sat down again. Her legs were shaking. You didn't have to stand up for me. I did, he replied, because no one else ever has. She looked up at the stars. They think I'm nothing, that I can't create life, that I'm too soft, too slow, but when you look at me, I see someone who deserves the whole galaxy, Josh said softly. Syraa swallowed hard. For the first time, she began to wonder. If one outsider could believe in her so deeply, maybe it wasn't her that needed changing. Maybe it was the way her people saw. Trial of the flesh, the council called it the trial of the flesh. Syraa called it something else. Punishment. 3 nights had passed since she walked away with the human. 3 nights of whispers, fear, and quiet smiles. Josh had fixed a broken signal beacon. He was close to calling his people, but the council found her first. Guards took her before sunrise. She didn't fight them. She didn't scream. She simply looked at Josh once and nodded. I'll be fine, she said. He didn't believe it. Now she stood in the middle of the sacred pit, a cold platform beneath her feet. Hundreds of eyes stared from the stone tiers above. They had dressed her in ceremonial chains, thin but heavy, not to bind her body but to remind her of her place. The elder voice echoed across the pit. You left the safety of your kind. You shared words, warmth, and touch with an outsider. You have broken the sacred code. Syraa didn't speak. You will now face the trial of the flesh. Let the pain return wisdom. The crowd watched in silence. Some looked away. A few smirked. From a steel box the trialer was brought out, an old mechanical device. It had been banned for years, but for Syraa they made an exception. The sharp wires hummed as they heated. It wouldn't kill her. Just remind her who she was or who they wanted her to be. Syraa closed her eyes. But before the first lash fell, a human voice cut through the air. Stop! Josh had arrived. He jumped into the pit, pushing past 2 guards, one hand still holding his half-repaired translator. You! Call this justice? He shouted. She showed compassion. She saved my life. And this is how you reward her? The crowd gasped. Elder Mari stepped forward. Human, leave this place. You have no rights here. I don't care about rights, Josh said. I care about her. Syraa opened her eyes. She had never heard anyone speak that way, not even in stories. Josh stood beside her now. He looked at the chains, then at her bruised wrists. I won't let them do this, he whispered. The elders began to shout. She is impure. She touched a human. She disrespected the bloodlines. Josh turned to the crowd. Then your bloodlines are broken. Silence fell like a hammer. Syraa's heart beat fast. This wasn't just defiance, this was revolution. Josh grabbed a loose chain and yanked it free. The trialers sparked and shut down. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. Let's go, he said. But before they could step out, Elder Maros blocked the way. You can't protect her forever, human. Josh didn't answer with words. He raised a flare from his pocket, one of the last working tools he had. He lit it and held it high. The light was bright, blinding. It wasn't just a warning. It was a signal. From above, a rumble shook the pit. A shadow fell over the crowd. A human shuttle, his rescue ship, descended. Syraa's mouth fell open. You fixed the beacon. Josh smiled. Told you I'm good at fixing broken things. She stepped onto the shuttle, with him still shaking, still unsure if this was real. But one thing was clear now. They didn't just escape a punishment. They escaped a world that refused to see her. Marked by the human, the shuttle door closed with a soft hiss. Syraa sat across from Josh, her eyes wide, hands clenched tightly in her lap. The hum of the engines was low, almost calming, but her heart was loud. She had never left her planet before. She had never been wanted before. Josh looked at her gently. You okay? Syraa nodded slowly, but her body was still trembling. Back on the ground, she was called useless, tainted, a disgrace. Up here, she didn't know what she was yet. The shuttle took them to a small outpost, quiet, cold, but peaceful. There were few humans there, mostly scientists and workers. They welcomed Josh with nods, curious glances toward the strange alien girl by his side. Syraa felt their eyes. She was used to stares. But these felt different, not judgment, curiosity, respect maybe. Josh led her to a private cabin. Inside, the walls were filled with photos. Humans smiling, laughing, holding hands. Small metal carvings sat on shelves. A warmth filled the air. Something she never knew she needed. This is your home? She asked, touching a framed picture of Earth. Kind of. Home is where you stop feeling afraid, he said with a smile. That's what I believe. Syraa turned to him, her voice low. Why did you really come back for me? Josh was quiet for a second. Then, he reached into a drawer and pulled out a piece of wood. On it, he had carved two small marks. One was a circle, the other, a star. He handed it to her. In my culture, this means connection. I carved this after our first walk. Syraa held it carefully, like it was something sacred. You made this before the trial? He nodded. You made me feel something. I didn't want to lose that. She looked at him. I was told I could never create anything. Not life, not family, not worth. Josh leaned forward, gently pressing the carved wood into her hand. You created something in me. Syraa's breath caught. No one had ever said such words to her. She turned away, blinking fast. Outside, the night was falling. Earth's stars looked different but not unfamiliar. She stepped out into the cold air and sat by the small garden. Josh followed her. Do you miss them? He asked. No, she said. I never belonged. You do here, he replied. She looked at him with a soft smile. You say such things so easily. They're not easy. They're just true. She stood and walked over to a stone near the garden's edge. What's this? She asked. Josh shrugged. Just a rock. She sat down and traced a line into the soft surface with her clawed fingertip. She carved two symbols, one for her, one for him. This, she said quietly, is my first mark. Josh looked at the rock, then at her, He stepped forward and, without asking, dipped his finger into a pouch of earth ink. He marked a small line across her palm. Syraa stared at it, stunned. "You marked me," she whispered. "Only if you want it to mean something," he replied softly. She nodded. "It does." The storm of choice. The human base lights flickered. In the distance, Syraa stood on the balcony of the outpost, her palm still marked with Josh's ink. The wind was strong tonight. A storm was coming, not just in the sky, but in her soul. She had found peace here. She had found herself here. But peace never lasts long. It began with a signal. Josh and the others were working in the comm room when the message arrived, encrypted, pulsing red. Syraa's people were calling her back. Not with threats, with offers. Elder Mari's voice came through the speakers. "Syraa of House Tren, you have gained knowledge from the humans. Wisdom we now value. Return to us. You will be honored." Syraa froze. She had expected hate, punishment. Not this. Josh looked at her. "What's going on?" "They want me back," she whispered. Josh stepped closer. "Why now?" "They say I'm useful now. My connection with you, my learning. It has value." Josh said nothing at first, then softly, "Did they mention me?" She nodded. "Only once. They said I could have everything, title, power, respect, but only if I cut all ties with you." The room fell silent. That night, Syraa walked into the garden alone. She sat by the stone where they had carved their symbols. In the sky above, her people's ship appeared like a ghost, hovering silently, waiting. She closed her eyes, her whole life. She wanted to belong, to be chosen. Now they were offering it to her, but only if she gave up the one person who saw her worth without needing proof. Footsteps crunched behind her. "Josh." He sat beside her, quiet. "I won't ask you to stay," he said. "This has to be your choice." She looked at him, tears in her eyes. "I always dreamed they'd call me important, that I'd have value. But now it feels hollow. Because they only see your value when it benefits them," Josh said. "I saw it when you had nothing." She turned to him. "Why do humans love so easily?" He shook his head. "We don't. We love deeply, but only when we know it's real." She looked up at the sky again, then down at her marked palm, then at him. "I was never meant to be theirs," she whispered. "I was just born there." Josh smiled, but there was sadness in his eyes. "Then what will you choose?" She stood slowly. "I'll go," she said. His breath caught. "I'll go and tell them no." Syraa walked toward the waiting alien. Shipped the next morning, but this time she walked tall, not for acceptance, for closure, for herself. Breeding material, the council chamber was full. For the first time in generations, every elder, every warrior, every voice of her people had gathered, not for battle, not for ceremony, but for her. Syraa stood at the center. No chains, no fear. Her head was lifted, her back straight. The girl who once sat in the shadows was gone. In her place stood a woman who had chosen herself. Elder Maro spoke first. "You left your kind, broke sacred law, polluted your bloodline." He stepped forward, voice rising. "Now you return with demands." Syraa didn't blink. "I returned with truth." Elder Mari narrowed her eyes. "And what truth is that, child?" Syraa took a breath. "That your laws are built on fear. That your value system is broken. You measure beauty in surface. You measure worth in blood. But I have seen more honor in one human's heart than in all of your rankings combined." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Syraa raised her voice. "You called me not breeding material. You marked me useless. But I have returned to give you something you never gave me. Clarity." She reached into her cloak, pulled out the wooden carving Josh gave her. She held it up for all to see. "This was made for me. Not because of my body, not because of my family, but because someone saw me." She turned to the side. A small projection appeared behind her, Earth tech humming softly. The image was clear. Josh, standing beside her, smiling. His hand gently, resting on her back, then a sound, 2 heartbeats. Everyone stared. Syraa placed her hand over her stomach. I am carrying a life, a child born not from bloodlines, but from choice. Gasps filled the air. Maro shouted, a human hybrid? That is forbidden, Mari hissed. You disgrace our people. But Syraa stepped forward louder than all of them. No, I am remaking our people, not with weapons, not with perfect tails or shiny scales, but with something your council forgot. Hope. She walked to the exit slowly as silence fell over the room. Just before she stepped out, she looked back once. You asked if I was breeding material. A soft smile touched her lips. I am more than that. I'm the future. Back at the outpost, Josh waited. When she returned, he didn't ask what happened. He just pulled her into a quiet embrace. I didn't need them to see me, Syraa whispered. They needed to see you, Josh replied. The stars above blinked, gently, not as cold watchers but as witnesses, to a girl once cast away, now reborn.